Hi everyone, my name is Becca and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time with us, I'm so excited you're here. This page is mostly dedicated to first chapter Fridays of awesome middle grade novels. But I don't like to limit it to Fridays because there is never a bad day to start a new book. But for today's first chapter Friday, we are going to be reading Not an Easy Win by Chrystal Giles or Giles. I can't say I'm certain on the pronunciation. I am super excited to share the first chapter of this book with you. It is about chess, a sport. It's not a sport, a game that I've always longed to learn more about. The back of the book just quickly says, how can you get on the board when the odds are stacked against you? And we will start by reading the synopsis on the inside front cover to get a little bit of an idea what this book is about. Lawrence is ready for a win. Nothing's gone right for Lawrence since he had to move from Charlotte to Larenville, North Carolina, to live with his granny. When Lawrence ends up in one too many fights at his new school, he gets expelled. The fight wasn't his fault, but since his pop's been gone, it feels like no one listens to what Lawrence has to say. Instead of going to school, Lawrence starts spending his days at the rec center, helping out a neighbor who runs a chess program. Some of the kids in the program will be picked to compete in the Charlotte Classic Chess Tournament. Could this be Lawrence's chance to go home? Lawrence doesn't know anything about chess, but something about the center and the kids there feels right, like it's a place where people might actually hear him. Lawrence thought the game was over, but does he have more moves left than he thought? All right. We're going to dive on into that first chapter. And teachers, if you are reading this with your students, you can go down to the description and grab the link to a free follow along handout for this book. Chapter 1. Expelled. I was pretty sure that meant I was being kicked out of school forever. Principal Spacey didn't even bother to look at me when he handed down the sentence. I'd been warned after my last fight. The next time you walk into my office will be your last, he'd said. That was just 4 weeks ago, when I'd had 6 fists pounding my head into the pavement. I wouldn't call that a fight. It was more like a beatdown. This time, it was just 2 fists and 1 foot. I was able to escape before it got too bloody. I even threw a couple punches of my own. I had actually become pretty good at taking hits. My skin had gotten harder to hurt. But like Mr. Spacey said, it didn't matter who'd started the fight, just that it had happened. And it had happened to me one too many times, even if Billy Jakes had gotten into just as many fights. Mr. Spacey treated our school like it was some kind of jail. He was the warden instead of the principal, always walking around talking about maintaining law and order. He couldn't wait to get rid of me, and only me. I could hear the frustration in Ma's voice from my spot outside. Mr. Spacey's office. Please, give him one more chance, she said. Please. I hated hearing her beg, especially since it wouldn't help. This was my last chance. I tried to get Ma to transfer me to another school after the last fight. Andrew Jackson Middle School was no place for me. I never fit in here, and I never would. I sat there listening to him explain to Ma that I was a distraction and he wouldn't tolerate my disregard for the rules he'd put in place for his school. He dismissed her and me by saying, that is all. Mom held her head up high and walked out of his office, past me in the waiting area, past the pale-faced office ladies and out the front door. I slow walked behind her, waiting to hear how this was all my fault. Now, what you gonna do? Mom asked me after we were out of earshot of the nosy office people. Me? What about them? I shrugged. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't care. Honestly, I'd hoped I'd never seen this place again. Mom went on talking, more to herself than to me. You wasting my gas coming back and forth up here to this school. And just like that, this was my fault. I looked forward and kept walking toward the parking lot. With each step, I winced. A rib shot was the worst kind of pain, way worse than a shot to the face. When we got to the car, I hesitated. Ma was in a fussing mood, and I'd have to listen to this all the way to Granny's house. Get in, Ma yelled. Her calm was completely undone now. You're 12 years old, too old for this. I went over to the passenger side of the car and waited for Ma to open the door. That door didn't open from the outside anymore. It had just stopped working one day. No one knew why, but that was probably my fault too. The only job you have is to go to school, and you can't even do that. Ma started in again. If you aren't in school, you'll have to find some kind of way to help out. Your granny won't let you sit around the house all day. I can just leave, I said under my breath. Where are you going to go? Ma spat out. I didn't have an answer. I stared out the window into the gloomy air. The gray skies stared back. She was right. I was trapped. We rode in silence for exactly 22 minutes before we turned off the main road onto bumpy Polk Lane. Granny Street wasn't a dirt road, but it wasn't smooth pavement either. After lots of driving on and no fixing, it was mostly broken up pieces of asphalt now. Mom pulled off the cracked road into Granny's gravel driveway and turned the car off. She let out a deep breath. Look, Lawrence, this ain't all on you. Life is hard, and we've had a double dose of hard lately. Ma's voice was softer now, her version of an apology. I knew I'd never get the real thing. Ma wasn't the apologizing type. Whenever I did something wrong, I had to apologize. I wasn't sure why adults didn't have to. For a moment, I'd forgotten about my stinging left eye. It would double in size if I didn't get ice on it soon. I sat in the thick air of Ma's car, waiting for her to ask about it, or at least see if I was okay. 2 long minutes passed. Silence. All right, let's just go in and get it over with, Ma sighed. If she says something, we'll just say it wasn't your fault. It wasn't my fault, I wanted to yell out, but I knew it wouldn't matter. No one cared about what had really happened. No one cared that I had a huge target on me since the day I started at that school. Everyone just looked at me like I was the problem. I don't know about you, but I am already really, really empathizing with that main character. Sounds like he's going through a lot and doesn't sound like he's going to get a break anytime soon. If you decide to read this novel, I would love to hear all about it in the comments below. And if there's any other books you would like me to read the first chapter for, please comment those below too. Thanks for stopping in, like, subscribe, and see you next time.